And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the
classic. Time.
Woo! Alright. We're having to do this the old-fashioned way because I'm having technical difficulties with my main camera, so I'm having to film this on my phone, which I don't like doing because that means I have to put more work into editing this, but doesn't matter. Anyways, for those who are a little bit confused, what I'm doing, Vinyl Richie started this last year. He did his best albums of 1980 and went all the way through each year of the 80s. Andy Borders, formerly known as Andy's Vinyl Den, continued it, and I think he did all the years of the 80s. And I started doing it last year, but never finished. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing a continuation from where I left off. So I'm doing my best albums of 1985 this time around. For those who are confused as to what's playing, it is an honourable mention of mine. The Damned, Phantasmagoria. I so wanted to put this in my list, but I couldn't quite get it in. So I'm putting it as an honourable mention. I'm doing my top 10 favourite albums. Not the best. If I was doing the best, this album would have been up there. Because it's maybe my 11th favourite album from the year, it is an honourable mention. It was in my top 10. I do want to point that out there. Until I thought of another album that came out in 85 that I wanted to include. It knocked this one off the list. So yeah, just so everyone is clear, the Damned Phantasmagoria was in my top 10, but got bumped for something else that I will get to later on. So let's get to this. Starting off with Cherelle, High Priority, a soul album. You may or may not know what this is. Like I said, it's a soul album. Her big track on here is Saturday Love. So that's what this album is. Great soul album, actually. I love this one so much. So had to put it in my top 10. Yeah. Not complaining about that one. Next up, Phil Collins, No Jacket Required. You should all know this. If you watch my videos, you probably watch Bill at the Vinylverse. He's a much bigger fan of Genesis than I am, but I don't know anybody who's a bigger Phil Collins fan than I am. I don't like to toot my own horn, but there you go. So Studio's on here, Don't Lose My Number, One More Night, and of course Take Me Home, which does, when we do 80s nights, that closes my set a lot of the times, or that closes off the night. So of course, love it for that. I do love all of Phil Collins' albums, all of his solo albums, and a lot of his 80s Genesis albums, you know, from like, I think maybe Invisible Touch right up to the self-titled one with the Shapes or whatever. But yeah, No Jacket Required, had to put it in my top 10 because it is my favourites. World Machine, Level 42, another favourite. Actually listened to this recently, rekindled a love of it. Something About You, I think, is the big track off here. Leaving Me Now. Yeah, loads of big. Love Level 42. Want to get more of their albums on vinyl soon, so, but of course I had to put World Machine in the top 10. And it was the same with this, because this is a band I actually discovered last year, when they put their album out last year. But they are a classic 80s group. That's Simple Minds. The album's Once Upon a Time. Easily in the top 10 of favourites. So had to put it in there. Even though it's a newer band out of all of these for me, still had to put them in there. I think we're in the top 5. No, we're still in. No, we're not quite yet. Just missing out on the top 5, and it pains me to put this album not in the top 5, but I'll explain why. The album, of course, is Stevie Wonder in Square Circle. Now, being a big Stevie Wonder fan, of course, I'm going to rave about any of his albums. I mean, this one in particular, Part-Time Lover, Go Home, and Overjoyed are 3 favourite tracks of mine from the 80s, and they all came off of this album from Stevie. But it's not his best album, so I couldn't put it in the top 5. Even though it's a favourite, I do think the 5 albums that I put above it, I do enjoy a little bit more than this one. Sad to say, even though I love this album to death, I love Stevie Wonder's music. I couldn't quite put it in the top 5 favourites. So, just so you know, In Square Circle is in the list. No surprise to anybody. But what might be surprising is that it's not in the top 5. So there we go. And I do want to apologise about the lighting. I know we're 6 minutes in. But I never apologised about the lighting before. Yeah, it's really bad lighting. I apologise. But I can't do anything about it now. Let's do this. Top 5. Kicking off the top 5. Dream Into Action. Howard Jones. Love Howard Jones. Love me some Howard Jones. Absolutely incredible. Things Can Only Get Better is the big track off of this album. Look Mama is on here. Dream Into Action, the title track, of course, on here. Stellar album. I hardly see anyone show Howard Jones, but I absolutely love this album, as you can clearly see. Moving on. Hunting High and Low by Aha. Big track on here, Take On Me, everybody knows it. I mean, it was used in Ready Player One last year, for crying out loud. Hunting High and Low, the title track. The Sun Always Shines on TV. Great 80s album. Even if you just know the song Take On Me, it doesn't matter, you know who Aha is. That's what I love about it. Third place is the album that knocked the Dam off of the top 10. You can count it if you want, it doesn't matter. I count it because it's an album that came out in 85. It may be a soundtrack, but it still came out in 85. That's Back to the Future. One of my all-time favourite movies, one of my all-time favourite trilogies, and absolutely one of my all-time favourite soundtracks, especially when you've got The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News, Back in Time by Huey Lewis and the News, Johnny Be Good by Martin McFly and the Starlighters, and Earth Angel by Marvin Berry and the Starlighters. Great soundtrack, absolutely love it. Cannot get enough of this soundtrack or the movie. I think I've watched this movie at least twice every year. That's how much I love it. Next up on the list, what is this? King of Rock, I thought it was. I was going to say Down with the King, but that's a later album from this group. Run DMC. King of Rock, Rock the House, Jam Master Jammin'. But of course, King of Rock is the big track off of this album. Classic 80s hip hop here. It's a big surprise to me even that this isn't my #1 album of 85. But of course I do like Raising Hell a little bit more, which would have been in my, which is the next album by this group that I want. But yeah, I still love Run DMC to death. This is their second album. I'm waiting to find a copy of Raising Hell at a good price. But yeah, I do own this one, so I figure I'll show it. Because it is a favourite of mine from 85, so I might as well show it. But my #1 favourite album of 1985, and maybe what I would say is maybe what I would rank as the best album from 85. A lot of people will disagree. I get that. That's cool. But for me, there is no album from 85 that can top Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears. Let's just take a look at the listing you've got here. Shout. Not a cover of Lulu, which I've heard people think. No, not a cover of Lulu. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And maybe my personal favourite song by Tears for Fears, Head Over Heels. Great album, a must-have in any collection, in my opinion. Up there with Dark Side of the Moon and Thriller. What other albums are must-haves? Whatever you say people must have in their collection, this is one of those albums. That is a must-have. So there we go. That is my top 10 favorite albums of 1985. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys again, yeah, very soon. Peace.